Moving on. The New York Times reported this week that the NYPD now has enough evidence to charge Jonathan Majors' ex-girlfriend for her role in the incident that led to his arrest back in March. Jesse, the receipts.
5 weeks before actor Jonathan Majors is set to face trial in New York City for misdemeanor assault charges, the New York Times is reporting that police believe there is enough evidence to support the arrest of his accuser for her role in the incident. The Creed 3 and Ant-Man star has repeatedly denied abuse allegations. Joining us to discuss it is Christopher Brown. He's managing member of Brown and Rosen Law Firm and an entertainment law professor at Boston College Law School. Thanks for being with us. Just to kind of refresh and set the table, take us back to March and how this incident started.
Well, this case is about a domestic dispute that led to misdemeanor charges of third-degree assault, second-degree harassment. Mr. Majors was subsequently arrested and charged.
Okay, so how significant is it that we're learning the police are reportedly investigating the accuser as well?
That's of great significance. It could mean a rushed judgment occurred in this case. It could mean that Mr. Majors is innocent of the crimes in which it is alleged in which he committed. It could also mean that this is a false allegation from the very start, which would also have various ramifications for Mr. Majors as well as the accuser.
Okay, so let's take that a step further. What would be the ramifications if it turns out it was a false charge?
Well, if someone files a false report, that in and of itself is a crime. It's a misdemeanor. It's perjury. And when you look at the fact that Mr. Majors has already lost management because of it, he's lost other business because of it, the accuser could potentially have liability for filing a false report if that is indeed what happened.
Very serious thing to do. Okay.
So let me get this straight. You not only cost this man tens of millions of dollars in film and endorsement deals, you sullied his good name to the point of disrepair where he will now have to spend the remainder of his life defending himself against your lies, all because he was leaving you for Megan Good, and all you get is a fine? First of all, ma'am, it's Megan Good, okay? There are just certain fights you shouldn't bother taking on because they are unwinnable. Letting Megan Good take your man is the equivalent of giving up your seat to a pregnant woman on the bus. It's the Christian thing to do. The gentleman in the interview mentioned that she could face civil liabilities for the financial damages that she has caused. Houseway, the wench is penniless. Even if he garnished every penny she is to make in this lifetime and the next, all the way to her grandchildren allowance, it would still not make even a dent in the past and future losses this man has suffered and will continue to suffer. So how should these kinds of egregious miscarriages of justice be righted? I'm going to share with you the story of a man by the name of Joshua Horner. Horner was sentenced to 50 years in prison for sexually assaulting a minor. The girl in question took the stand during Horner's trial and said under oath that Horner shot her dog as an intimidation tactic if she spoke of the abuse. Horner also took the stand in his own defense and vehemently denied all allegations that this young woman was making. He was still found guilty and sentenced to 50 years in prison. Lo and behold, about a year and a half into Horner's 50-year sentence, this happened. Jesse, the receipts.
Oregon man sentenced to 50 years in prison is making national headlines after walking away a free man. So what led to his case getting dismissed? Believe it or not, a dog. Listen to how this all unfolded. Josh Horner was convicted last April of sexually abusing a minor. During the trial, the girl said Horner threatened to shoot her animals if she told police about the alleged molestation. Well, she testified under oath that she saw Horner shoot and kill her dog to make his point. Horner insisted he didn't do that. After his conviction, he asked the Oregon Innocence Project for help, and yesterday they found the black lab living with its new owner in Gearhart. The Deschutes County District Attorney says finding Lucy proved the girl lied under oath, so the judge dismissed the case.
Well, I cannot say with certainty that Mr. Horner did not sexually abuse the named victim. I can say I'm not convinced by a preponderance of the available evidence that he did, and I'm certainly not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt.
The Oregon Innocence Project is currently working on 5 other projects across the state. This is its first ever exoneration.
So I did a little further digging because this whole story sounded outlandish to me. And turns out that the girl in question is Horner's 13-year-old daughter, who he shared custody of with his ex-wife. When Horner got engaged to a woman his ex-wife disapproved of, she talked the child into making the salacious accusations against her own father. The fact alone that neither the DA's office nor the defense team bothered to check if the goddamn dog was actually dead is not only flabbergasting, but extremely infuriating. But here's the kicker. Neither the mother nor the daughter will be charged in this case. They just get to continue living their lives as though they did not just incinerate this man's life to a point of no return. See, sexual assault is without a doubt the worst possible crime that one can commit against another individual because of how it violates and dehumanizes the victim, and because of the lifelong devastation that it causes. But falsely accusing someone of sexual assault is just as heinous of a crime for the same exact reasons. Let's take a second here and break down the ways that a false accuser harms her victims, okay? We're talking about years of false imprisonment. Not to mention that when in prison, he faces the potential of sexual abuse because that is how sex offenders are treated in the penitentiary. His reputation is instantly shredded to pieces. All his personal relationships immediately go down the drain. And if he's married, 99.999% of the time, it ends in divorce. Loss of current and future prospects of employment. Forget about ever finding a half-decent job, even if you get found not guilty. And then you add on the severe emotional and psychological trauma, and that can go on and on and on and on. And that is why, in my book, anyone who will conspire to obliterate another person's life in such a fashion is just as bad as and should, at a minimum, if found guilty, have to serve the exact same sentence the falsely accused individual was facing. I make no more distinctions between a woman who will send a man to prison for a rape he didn't commit and an actual rapist himself. The woman is just as mentally deranged and a threat to society as the most heinous of sex offenders and should be locked away for a long, long, long time. Absolutely preposterous.